Hey everyone, welcome back. Our second video. And yes, I am still angry. It's not that kind of infuriating punch and kick and scream angry. It's more of a crushing, defeatist, this is ridiculous kind of anger. It's the kind of anger that isn't going to go away anytime soon, because even though I knew there was a problem, and even though I knew it was bad, it's worse than I imagined. When I'm told that 65% of my church agrees or strongly agrees they need to be perfect to go to heaven, and that when you add in the unsures and the sort of disagrees, it's a lot higher number than that. It's infuriating. It's not just infuriating that we're wrong. That's really immaterial. The rightness and wrongness of it is not the point. The point is the impact of being wrong. Because the impact is we're living without hope. We're living in shame and fear. And that shame and fear is either keeping us silent, which maybe isn't such a bad thing, or it's preventing us from being any kind of positive force in the world. Let me give you a couple of illustrations. Years ago, I was looking for this particular model of car, and I wanted it to be a 5-speed, which was hard to find. Our family was growing, so it needed to be a 4-door, 5-speed, hard to find. So I was looking, and I found one. In fact, I remember exactly where I was. My wife had a doctor's appointment, and I was in the waiting room, waiting for her to come out. And I was reading the wanted ad, the classified ads, and boom, there it was. So within like 2 or 3 days, I cleaned up my other car, took it, traded it in, got this car. Super excited. Went to visit Tracy's parents. Her dad took it for a ride. He loved it. I mean, it wasn't a car that's going to turn the world upside down or be on the front cover of a magazine, but it was fun. It was a family car that was actually fun. The only problem is the car turned out to be an absolute piece of junk. Like a piece of junk. It was 5 years old, had low mileage, and the first issue I remember having distinctly, because who could forget, I put it in reverse in my driveway to back out, and I heard this terrible noise. Stop the car, look underneath, gas tank is dragging on the ground. Straps broke, gas tank fell down. I've had probably, Tracy and I counted them up, my wife, we counted them up a while back. It was some Facebook thing. We've had like 20 some vehicles between us over the years. I had never before and never since had a car have the gas tank fall down. It was only 5 years old. That was just the beginning. It was just one thing after another. It got so bad that whenever it started developing a problem that wasn't completely urgent, it would still go down the road. I wouldn't fix it. And my dad one day was riding me. He's like, "Why don't you fix this thing?" I'm like, "Why would I? Like, the moment I fix it, something else is going to go wrong." And literally that's what happened every time. You just fix one thing, something else. Problems I've never had on any other car, problems I've never had since. I could keep you here all day. I think I paid $9,000 for the car, and I paid double than that in repairs, and I did most of the repairs myself. Absolute piece of garbage. I don't know why lemons happen. I don't know how they happen, what causes it. It doesn't make any logical sense. My sister had the same model of car, no problems. My dad had the same model of car, give or take, no problems. Junk. Now, do you think that I ever, since then, have wanted to own another one or have told anyone else that they should go get one? Not a chance. The experiences we have directly impact how we relate to the world. If we are living under and I say under, if we are living under the pressure that heaven and God are only accessible by perfection, that's an immense pressure. Why would I ever want to tell anyone else to come and join me in my misery? So, when I was about 12, grew up in church. I mean, I could literally probably count on one hand how many times I have not been in church on the weekend in my entire life. No exaggeration. So when I was about 12, my pastor, who was awesome, he was talking about heaven. He was talking about Jesus coming back. And it's one of the core beliefs of our church, that Jesus is literally going to come back someday. It's supposed to be great news. So he was talking about it that day, and he was saying, how would you feel if Jesus was coming back in a year, or 6 months, or a month? What if he was coming back today? I was 12 years old. I was not thinking that was a good idea. I was scared. The idea scared me. So later that night, I don't know, we'd gone somewhere, and we got home after dark. And I got out of the car, and I looked up, because this weird light was coming through the clouds, and the clouds were kind of moving apart, and the light was getting brighter and brighter, and it kind of matched the descriptions that people would say when Jesus comes. It's going to be this light, it's going to come, it's going to get brighter and brighter and brighter, and everyone's going to see it. I was absolutely terrified. My pastor had talked about Jesus coming today, and this was it. And I was not happy. And not happy like unhappy. I was just terrified. Like, he's coming. I'm not ready. I'm not going. I remember having a dream about the similar age, maybe a little bit younger, where I was in this long line of people on this desolate, like completely like movie apocalypse, wasted planet, dark, everything destroyed. And we're in this long line, and as I got to the head of the line, there was a lady in my church who used to teach me when I went to Sabbath school, Sunday school. And she was in front of me in line. And when we got to the head of the line, we realized, as we were getting closer, we realized that this line is determining who's going to leave this desolate planet and go be with God, and who's going to stay here and be lost. So we get to the head of the line. She goes with God, and I was lost. So what kind of messaging, verbal or nonverbal, was happening around me in my growing up years to make me terrified of the thing that was supposed to be the best thing ever, and would cause me to have dreams where I was hopeless? So Jesus loves me. Kids sing that song from the get-go, right? Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. So if Jesus loves me, created me, wants me, coming back to get me, if he's coming, why would I be terrified? So let me tell you another story. About that same time, give or take a couple years, my uncle, who lived about 8 hours away, so we'd see him a couple times a year. He'd come to our house for a bit. In the summer, we'd go to his place, visit. He was coming to visit, and he had bought a 1970 Mustang convertible. So we were like excited, man, because my dad had a shop, and I don't know, they're going to do some work on it, and it's a cool car. So my brother and I, we went out to the highway, and we sat on the overpass. It's quite a long walk. Went out and sat on the overpass waiting for my uncle to come, because he had to come down that highway. So we were watching, man, as the cars came. Like, we're going to see and we're going to hear this 1970 Mustang convertible, and then we'll hopefully flag him down. If not, we'll just run back and be there when he gets there. But we were going to be the first ones to see him and the car. Why would we be that excited, same age, for my uncle to come? He's only going to leave again. It's not going to change our life any, one way or the other, really. Terrified at the idea of Jesus coming and taking us from this broken world to a perfect place. But I'm terrified. What kind of messaging brought me there? What kind of messaging has brought our church in 2018 to the place where still 2/3 and more either believe they have to be perfect or kind of wonder if they have to be perfect to get to heaven? And what kind of hope is that? Like, who's perfect? It's ridiculous. Like, if the entrance fee for heaven is perfection, nobody's going. Nobody. So no wonder why we're terrified and laden with guilt and ashamed and hopeless. And we're the ones who are supposed to be telling the world how good God is, how good the good news is. And it's not even good to us. If you stay with this series, I promise you, even though I can't change the 65% to 64% or 63%, I can't, I'm just me. But if you choose to stay here and watch this series through, at least you will come to the place where you know better. That God is not up there with a list, waiting to see if we can get our act together to get perfect enough for Him to bring us home. That's not the story in the least. We'll see you next time.